All right, let's get into this Kyrie Irving trade news. And the big thing that I took away from it was the Suns saying they will not include Dr. JJ, Josh Jackson, or Devin Booker into that trade. I think the Devin Booker idea might be a little more obvious, but I like hearing that we like Jackson that much. What do you guys think?
Yeah, the whole Devin Booker thing was something that people like Chris Broussard or however you want to say it, because
Broussard.
I'm not gonna say that dude's
Broussard.
name right out of like principle, not because I don't actually like know how to say it. It's a principle thing for me. So like between him saying that and some other nonsense ESPN people saying that is like, yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. You guys have no idea what's going on. Like that Devin Booker obviously would not be in trade talks because we would be trying to get Kyrie to pair up with Devin Booker. So just kind of the obvious from our front office just being like, yeah, no, we're not trading Booker. Like that just ain't happening. And like that's something that it's like, yeah, duh. We know that, but kind of just the reassurance from our front office is kind of nice, especially with everyone always talking crap about our front office always.
Yeah, well, and then the report that came out was that the Cavs said if we would have offered Bledsoe, Jackson, and a 2018 first round pick, they would have traded Kyrie to us already. I am glad that we're not going to trade Jackson, but it's interesting to see that's their asking price, basically. And when I see that, I see there could still be something that we could make work. That's what I think from that asking price. But it seems like they're pretty high on Jackson, just like we are.
I think a lot of people are high on Jackson. Sorry, Chuck, but I just had to throw that out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I agree. And the thing that I'm taking away from this is what is our offer? What are we offering them
Right.
as a return from the no Jackson? Is it TJ? Is it one of Chris or Bender? Could it even be Jared Dudley? Like who is it? We've heard little rumors about each and every one of those guys, but I don't know. If I had to pick one, I'd say it'd be TJ we're trying to throw in rather than Jackson.
Right. Well, even if we did TJ and someone like Dudley. Now I'm going to reference those of you who listen to the show know that I love Zach Lowe. But Zach Lowe had Brian Windhorst on his show last week to talk about Kyrie, and it was the most in-depth, best explanation of all the options that the Cavs have. So I highly recommend listening to that. But they brought up a great point that Jared Dudley fits exactly what LeBron wants. He wants these shooters, and Dudley would be great to play with LeBron. So why not include him? We don't really need Jared Dudley. He doesn't fit anything that we're doing except for the locker room veteran presence, this and that, which is great, and I love Jared Dudley, but if we could somehow include him in a trade to the Cavs to get Kyrie, that'd be great.
And that probably means we're taking back someone like Amon Shumpert, who's on a pretty
Yes,
bad
right.
contract. So,
Right. But
I,
that's what we have the ability to do.
yeah, as a team with space and looking to bring on young talent by taking on bad contracts, like we have the ability to do that, and we did that specifically to have that ability.
Right. Well, and then the other thing that people talk about is Kyrie only has 2 years on his contract. Why do it as a rental? But the point that was brought up in that Zach Lowe podcast was that with the contracts, the way they work now, with the max being is it 4 years or 5 years?
Max with bird rights is 5 years normally.
Okay. But most of these contracts are 4 years or less. So 2 years really isn't that short of a time when 4 is the max that most of these guys are getting.
Except that you don't want to really. You want that full 4 years. I mean, like, Bledsoe, it's not really sure if we're trying to just trade him and offload him for someone young or if we're just wanting to let him play out the rest of his contract and then go get a big contract somewhere else. But, I mean, even with these short contracts and stuff, that's kind of not everyone, not all superstars or all stars are going for short contracts so that way they can remain flexible. I mean, most of the time you're going to go for the monetary reasons and the financial aspects of I could, you know, absolutely destroy my knee, something like maybe happen to Sean Livingston, and lose all this money on the table because I wanted to do these 1 year outs. When you're someone like Kevin Durant and LeBron, who can absolutely, even if they have a catastrophic injury, they can still go get a max from someone because of just name recognition. And they could probably get a max from someone until 5, 6, 7 years from now. Like, if they didn't play and were just sitting and like, all right, I'm going to play. I've had this injury, but I'm good to go. Someone's going to throw them a max no matter what. Like, that's not the same as someone like, I mean, like Steph just signed his 4 or 5 year contract, whatever it was, and like he took the entire length of it, and the talk is that like most everyone else is going to take the length of those contracts. It's only the like cream of the crop, the craziest guys that are going to be able to do these 1+1 or 2+1 deals and not really lose anything from it.
Well, I agree with that, but all I'm saying is people need to quit viewing Kyrie having 2 years left on his contract as a rental just because of the length of the contracts. I don't think that's a good way to look at it.
Well, I guess I just disagree because of the the type of player Kyrie is, where he ranks with everyone. You want those kind of players are signing 4-year contracts. Those players aren't signing 2-year contracts, I guess is what I was saying.
Right, but this is what his
But either way,
contract is like right now.
There's going to be 2 years left on this contract, no matter where he goes.
Right.
Either
Right.
way. So
Exactly.
in these 2 years, I think that 2 years might be. I know it's tough to say this with what we saw Kevin Durant do this past offseason, but 2 years might be enough time for a guy to fall in love with the city and his teammates and want to stick around and make something better happen. I mean, imagine a backcourt of Kyrie and Devin Booker. That would take the city by storm. I think everybody could get behind Kyrie playing here in Phoenix. I think that'd be a lot of hype, and maybe that hype is something we were building up for and we were planning to take a few more years. But maybe Kyrie's the guy that bumps us up to the next notch and we turn this young team into a playoff team. So I'm not worried about bringing in a guy for 2 years. 1 year is what I consider a rental. 2 years, that's some time with the team. Some relationships will be built. And then maybe the guy wants to stick around if we're showing promise. So I'm not worried about that.
I guess my bigger thing is that the talks of like Josh Jackson needing to be involved, where it's like, this guy's only on a 2-year contract. We're not going to have him for that. And that's where kind of the 2-year value kind of starts kicking in. It's not as much like do I think 2 years as a rental or not? It's more of a mortgaging the future for 2 years, basically, is more of what I guess I come from that. Whereas I'm really high on Josh Jackson.
So would you consider it mortgaging the future if it were Eric Bledsoe and then any other player other than Josh Jackson and then that first rounder? Is that mortgaging the future to you, even if it's Chris or Bender?
So even if it's Chris or Bender, that is mortgaging the future. But I think that I wouldn't want to trade either Chris or Bender either, but I would trade them before I would trade Josh Jackson. 100% without a second thought.
What do you think, Mitch? I see you struggling there.
It's so hard to say because, I like Josh Jackson a lot. I think he's going to be great, but he hasn't played an NBA game yet. We don't know what, people say he could be Kawhi Leonard. He could also not be Kawhi Leonard. So it's just so hard to judge these guys when we haven't actually seen them play. And I do love Josh Jackson, but at the same time, from what we have seen from Chris in a lot of games and Bender in a few select games, I go back and forth every day. it changes. I'm like, oh yeah, I'd rather keep Chris and Bender. And then the next day I'm like, no, it's got to be Jackson. I'm just really, really struggling.
I know that Jackson hasn't necessarily proven anything yet, but I mean, watching him compete at a high level, watching him talk about wanting to be good, like more than good. The dude wants to be great, and the dude's gonna leave it all out there. You don't have that type of drive in every single NBA player that comes into the draft. You don't have that drive to be something better than just good. Like, a lot of these guys are told they're great from forever and are okay with just getting theirs and kind of just being what they are. They're not interested in playing 100%, 110% the entire time. And I honestly think Jackson is that guy, and that trait is another thing that puts him on that level of, this dude has the potential to be a Kawhi, be a Jimmy Butler, possibly in like a middling tier, be a Philly Iguodala, and he like has that potential, but he also has that drive, and I think that can't be overstated.
I just really like that spicy attitude, that fiery attitude that he has. It really fits in with what we're doing. What we saw last year, we were getting our butts kicked, and our guys were still playing hard and getting chippy when necessary. They weren't going to back down to anybody, and I think Jackson slides right in perfectly with that attitude that we're building here. And let's move on to just a bit of a game, I guess. And it's how does this impact our roster track, like the track of our team going forward? So we'll slide in different trade options for Kyrie here. So Bledsoe, Jackson, and that first. We'll keep Bledsoe and the first in there each time. So throw in Jackson. Is that a plus, a minus, or a meh?
I honestly think that while to start out the season, TJ will probably be the starter and it'll be his job to lose. I think towards the end of the season, we would be at a negative if we traded Bledsoe and Josh Jackson for Kyrie.
Minus from David.
So I'm going to say plus for one reason alone. Josh Jackson has not played an NBA game. If you ask me this question a year from now, my answer might be different.
And I got to just stay in the middle with the meh answer, because I just think the trade-off, the difference between Kyrie and Bledsoe is not big enough for Jackson to make that good for us. I mean, yeah, we'd upgrade our point guard, but we'd be thin at small forward. So,
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
I completely agree with you there, and I think that's kind of this thing. Kyrie is kind of the reverse Mike Conley in hype-wise, whereas casual fans overrate him like no other, and like hardcore fans underrate Kyrie, whereas with Conley, casual fans underrate him and hardcore fans overrate him. Kyrie is not a superstar player, and he's not going to change us into a playoff team overnight if we traded him and sent a king's ransom to the Cavs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he makes us a playoff team either, but I think having a guy like that attracts other big-name free agents, and when if he comes to the team, Kyrie and Booker, that backcourt would be awesome. And if we keep Jackson, I know we're talking about not having Jackson in this situation, but those three together, I think could do some amazing things. And I think I may tend to overrate Kyrie, but I think what I've been seeing lately from a lot of Suns fans is him being underrated. Kyrie is a great, great, great player. I don't know if he's a superstar or not, but he's probably the best finisher at the rim in the league for a guard. He is an incredible player. I don't think we can forget about how good Kyrie Irving is.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that the dude isn't probably one of the best finishers in the game, if not the best, and also up there when it comes to the handles and possibly the best handles that the NBA has seen. But I just, you got to remember, like, this dude couldn't win anything without LeBron.
Okay, but
And
how
like-
old
How
was
many years
Kyrie?
ago? How many
How
years ago?
many years
No,
ago? was
I'm-
that? Who
I'm-
else was on that team?
I'm just saying that he has shown the ability to step up in big scenarios. But
That's
whenever LeBron has sat the last 3 years, the Cavs are a dumpster fire. With any sort of, if Kyrie is the transcendent player, if he's playing alongside, if you throw out a lineup with 2 3-and-D players, Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love, and Kyrie, if Kyrie is that transcendent player, the Cavs should still work and look good without LeBron there. But whenever LeBron sits on the Cavs, they look like a dumpster fire, and they're like, the plus minus is ridiculous, and I know plus or minus whatever. We have to take into a ton of context with that, but a 3-and-D player in that spot, if Kyrie is a transcendent player, he should be able to make that team still work, and it just doesn't.
Sit Peyton Manning on any of his Colts team and let me know how that team plays. I think
That
they're
is a great point.
It's that heavily involved with LeBron. They're so used to it. LeBron takes all the reps. I kind of think of Peyton Manning and how that backup quarterback behind him in his glory days had no idea what was going on because he never got a snap in practice.
Yeah, they never had a average backup quarterback because they didn't have to worry about it when it came to Peyton Manning.
But the whole point is that on those Peyton Manning-led offenses, everything was designed around him, making reads, making the right play. It's the same thing with the Cavs. That whole team is designed around LeBron.
Okay, how much of an offensive system do the Cavs really have?
They don't really have one.
Exactly. They don't have a system. So, if your job is to go out there, hit a 3, and run around a screen, then that shouldn't change whether LeBron is there or not. Right?
Well,
I just think when you're playing with the best player in the game right now, you get used to playing with the best player in the game right now. And you might get a little stagnant even though, yeah, you're competitive, you're an NBA player. I don't know.
But if Kyrie is this transcendent player, if he is this possible superstar player, shouldn't that team still be able to run even without LeBron? There should still be some sort of engine there if you're doing the exact same thing, like with high screener rolls or whatever, and with the main ball handler, and his job is to either hit the three-point shooter or go to the rim. If that shouldn't change. That system shouldn't change, and I just, like, if Kyrie is supposed to be so good that we should trade Josh Jackson, Bledsoe, and a first for him, then I feel like without LeBron, or when LeBron sits for X amount of games because he's LeBron and he can do that, then the Cavs should not have looked like the dumpster fire that they looked like.
okay, I have another analogy. In a company, a lot of times you'll have a boss who has a lot of really good, trusted employees, and everything runs really smoothly. But when the boss takes some time off, things don't go quite as well. And it's not to say that all the other employees don't know what they're doing and they aren't good. They just do things a certain way, and they're used to things being a certain way. The boss comes back and says, oh, you missed this, you missed that, and fixes some things up, and things run smoothly. It's a lot of chemistry and everyone having their own strengths. That's something that we see a lot in real life, and I think that can apply to this situation.
The team is designed for LeBron. It is not designed for Kyrie.
That's right.
it is designed for an isolation player to make the offense run.
Yeah, the boss.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but when you have a boss in real life and the boss goes away for a week, you don't just have a void where nothing is there. You have someone else in charge that more often than not is able to, they're not going to be at that good boss's level, but they will be able to step in and make sure everything runs smoothly and everything isn't a dumpster fire.
And they step into a role that they're not used to, and things don't run like they usually do.
Except that things still run, and they still run well enough to where everything doesn't go down the drain in that week.
And that's
Whereas
true.
with LeBron, when he sits, Kyrie can't make anything run. Like, he can go out there and score and do whatever, but that team sucks. If a boss leaves for a week and the assistant boss is put in charge, like, the whole company isn't gonna, like, just do a nosedive because the transcendent boss left.
When Richard Jefferson's working full time and the boss isn't there, I think things are fair to nosedive. I think we
agree.
need to just end it there. I think we feel pretty differently about it. This is running a little long for our segment here, so
Comment on what you think, because we're not
Yeah.
going to get anywhere. We're just going to disagree, and that's
yeah,
fine.
we'll probably end up fighting about this as soon as we're done recording. So.
Probably.
All right, well, thanks for tuning in for this little quick episode here on YouTube. Be sure to check out the full thing on deepishthoughts.com as well as our YouTube page.